What's up, guys? This is just a short video of how a typical cake is put together. Had someone mention that they hadn't seen a video like this on YouTube. I think there is some out there, but I figure why not make a little something myself. So I'll just take apart this bump bear and let's see what we got on the inside. So let's cut off this outer wrap. And you'll have some cakes that have cardboard all the way around them, and others where that wrap is directly on the tubes. They actually wrap this one pretty nicely. There we go. So I'll just go ahead and take off cardboard. I don't need this anymore. So just so you can see here, that's where your fuse goes in. And the fuse is transferring fire from one tube to the next. And you'll see, jumps to the next row, and so on. So that's kind of how it snakes through and the pattern of the shots. We have our plugs here, and you'll have inserts behind each one of those plugs. I'm going to go ahead and take out one of these rows. And most of the time these are glued together pretty well, or taped very tightly. As you can see, these two rows are glued together, which for the purpose of breaking this down is fine. So, actually, let's go ahead and I'm going to take this off camera so I can get some leverage and get these off the glue. So, I'm just going to have it broken down. So I have a single tube from the cake. There's our pass fire holes. So, just for the sake of not losing lift charge on the floor, I'm going to grab some tape and put it over those pass fires for the lift. Now, for this small of a cake, I can actually reach this plug right here and use my brass awl and poking around in here around the comp so I don't have a chance of sparking anything, because you wouldn't want to somehow spark it and set it off in your hand. At least I don't want to. Someone might be crazy enough to actually want to do that. So let's go ahead and get our insert. So here we go. So this is the shell that goes up in the air. Essentially, it's a miniature canister in a way, but this is how 99% of cakes are made. They all have an insert that is basically just one of these, just different sizes. And you can see here, you have your time fuse as well as a bit of black powder prime. So when your lift, which is down in here, and I'll take that out in a second, when that lift goes off, transfers fire to that time fuse. And I'm going to go ahead and open this up carefully to go ahead and reveal the stars on the inside. So this clay plug goes about to here, or approximately at least. So I'm just going to carefully cut most of the way through that shell. And I'm going to open this up. And we're going to see that's where that clay plug stops, and you get a little bit of rice as spacers. Every factory constructs things slightly differently. They use a little bit of rice for space. So I'm just going to go ahead and dump this in this sieve so I can separate the stars from the burst charge. So get this closer over here so I can actually reach around the camera. So as you can see, there's still stuff packed in there, so I'm just going to give it a little tap. You see there's a decent amount of stuff inside there. And if I can get this to focus, you can slightly see it. You have your pass fire fuse at the bottom there, and that reaches the inside of your burst charge with the stars we've just dumped on that sieve. So there's the base of the shell. And like I said, the top is simply just a clay plug, and this one happens to have a little bit of rice holes for some spacer. Actually, I haven't seen that on too many cakes. And this is your star composition as well as your burst charge, the part that makes it pop and send those stars in every direction. So I'll shake that off real quick just to separate it. Got a little bit of rice holes in there, but they don't weigh very much. So I'm going to dump my stars over here. And as you can see, we just have some black powder that acts as your burst. When that time fuse hits it, sends the stars in every direction, lights them on fire. That's where you get your effect in the sky. So there's that right there. Let's go ahead and remove the lift from this tube. And your lift is going to be at the base right where these holes go in. And I'm going to cut just above those holes. The lift is below where I'm cutting right now. Okay. Now, the plug might be above where I cut, but yeah, the plug was above where I cut. See, the plug is right there. So you'll have a plug that prevents this lift from spilling out around the insert. It also acts as a kind of like a wad for a shotgun, so it helps that gas push that shell out, as well as let some fire pass through to that time fuse. So, and there's not very much lift in cakes, so there's just going to be a couple, maybe 1 to 2, maybe 3 grams in here. So you see, the bottom here is nothing besides clay. It's just a clay plug, and you see right here, that's where your fuses from the adjacent tubes come in here, from one fuse to the other. So when that lift goes off, passes fire to the next fuse, chain to the next tube. And that is just a series of how each one of those go. And I might as well just weigh these. I know each one of these weigh about 15 grams. That is these cups. So, yep, looks like we got about 2 grams of lift, which for a small insert is plenty to get that up there, 80 to 100 feet. For star composition on that one insert. So it looks like it's going to be about 4 to 4.5 grams of stars. There's probably only 1 gram of burst in here. Yeah, 1 gram of burst. So we had 2 grams of lift, about 4.5 grams of stars, 1 gram of burst charge, and fuses typically weigh, the whole cake you probably have about 3 grams of fuse. So I actually had my calculator on me. I had to do some math, but I'll try to do some head math here real quick. So we had 2, 6.5, 7.5 times 16. So this cake is coming in right about 140 grams, probably, if I had to guess. I could probably take apart each one of these and find out the exact total and put it at the end of this video to see exactly how much, but most of these cakes that come packed 20-for-1 are not going to have a complete 200 grams in them, because that's just not typically what you get, because that number is just what the maximum load would be for that category of cake, and these ones are much more of a budget item. So hopefully that explanation kind of gives you a good idea of how these things are put together. I could cut a cross section, but it's just going to end up looking ugly. So I decided to add this at the end. I went ahead and just dismantled each one of the tubes from Bump Bear. I also forgot that this cake does actually have tails whenever the shots go up. So this one I was able to get, let me focus there. That's the composition for the tail, which is right on the time fuse for each of the inserts. So I'm going to go ahead and weigh up the tail. I think this one came out to 1 gram with the time fuse, and I'm just going to assume they're all about the same. As you can see, little bits of it. Sorry, it's really hard to get this thing to focus. So there it goes. So even this one was starting to break up a little bit. So let's go ahead and weigh that. So let's try to do that without a cup on there. I think it came out to, yep, 1 gram, just barely. So there's 16 of those in there. Okay, let's get this, tare it. So this is the lift for all 16 of those. little bit of clay, but so we got 32, which comes out to about 2 per 2. So let's go on to the stars. $75 on the stars. Switch over to the burst charge. Some of this is going to stick in here. Black powder tends to stick a bit to these. So we have about 15 grams of burst. And then for the fuses, so it's about 5 grams of fuse in the total cake there. So I'm going to go ahead and add these up off screen because I'm holding my phone, which is what I'm going to use as the calculator, and I'll put that total on the screen right now. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Something a little bit different. I was kind of bored, so all right, catch you guys on the next one.